Welcome to VHS Sisters, a nostalgic movie podcast with two actual real-life sisters. Get into some jammies, grab your favorite beverage, and come hang out with us as I force my little sister to watch all of the movies that she missed growing up. Hello, hi, hello. We're on the pod. We're recording. I feel excellent. The only thing I'm not sure of is what we're going to call this podcast, because when we were talking...
No, and that's fine. We can have a working title for now.
Well, the working title was going to be, I Can't Believe You Haven't Seen This. And I did look it up, and there are several podcasts with that name. And also this is not a fresh concept. This idea of like showing friends or family new media to them, right? So let's start with introducing ourselves, and then our fans will know who a little bit more about us, our future fans.
Our future fans, my two fans.
I think the important thing about this podcast is that we are sisters and we like to watch stuff.
We are sisters and we do watch things.
We do watch things. I am the eldest. My name is Saysha. I was born in 1980. And you are?
I'm the baby. My name is Melanie, and I was born in 1992, as I would affectionately like to call the generation of Zillennial with a Z, because I'm kind of like mixed and matched with the Gen Z, but also the millennial crowd. And I would like to call you affectionately the Zillennial with an X. The X into millennial. So it's like there's, people try to give these like generations a 10-year mark, and I feel like that's not a good enough spacing. It needs to be like more like 5 years, like kind of how trends have changed. Like we're doing these micro trends now. Every season there's like 2 or 3 new trends, and then there's 2 or 3 more in August. There's 2, so micro gen.
Well, time is speeding up at an alarming rate. And yes, I've heard that term zillennial before, because depending who you speak to, I am either the eldest millennial in existence,
right?
Or I'm
which I think is rude.
Which is extremely rude. I definitely relate to a lot of millennial culture, but also I know a lot of things that are from the 70s or early 80s. It's funny because they say there is this micro generation of people who are born from like 77 to 84, and they call it the Star Wars generation. And that's kind of where I fit in. And I'm fascinated with this time period, because I think music and media, movies in this time period are so interesting, because it's not quite the 70s, but it's like, how we always think of 80s, and we can get into this if we talk more about 80s movies, that the 80s are like neon and super bright and like everything's like tubular, and it's more like everything is brown carpet. Like that's what I remember about the 80s. It's like brown carpet, avocado formica, everything was sort of like ugly and earth toned, and it wasn't as vibrant as the Gen Zs now would like to think. Yeah, they have a
maybe
skewed.
Their parents were all boring in the 80s, and that's why. Or they were just like being hatched, so they don't even have a memory of it,
Well, they have no memory of it. I mean, now we have kids who are getting into 90s culture, and they're like, oh right, the 90s was I'm thinking of like people talking about the aesthetic of Whimsigoth, and they're listing all of these musical artists and patterns and aesthetics. I'm like, that's not how it quite was, but I understand what you're going for. Everything was a little bit more muted than people would like to believe. So we can have a whole aesthetics podcast as well. We can talk.
Movie aesthetics. Yeah, just like a separate every day it's or every week it's a new podcast, new title, new subject. That's how I roll.
I
Anyway,
mean,
so that's
I
fine
would
with me.
I would love to talk about the aesthetics of Jaws, since that's what we're talking about today.
I was gonna say back to 80s movies in general, Jaws, it came out what year? It was like 1970,
1975.
75. So it's like our mother, for reference, was 15 years old in 1975. She would have been 14 when the movie came out because she was born in October. And I have never seen it up until very recent. As of last week, I have now seen Jaws for the first time. And let me tell you, I loved it.
Did you love it?
I loved it. I was not prepared for the jump scares in it because, like, of course, like, people see Jaws, like the movie poster, it's iconic. That there's a shark and he's trying to murder people or something. Like, it's just one of those things. It's like, okay, it's obvious, right? Like, but I've never like sat there and watched like scenes from the movie or like knew what happened from start to finish. And so I was just kind of like, okay, now it's time. And our mother feels like she has failed. Like, it's not your fault.
I was going to say, let's reel it back slightly, because the reason we started talking about opening with this movie as a subject for our podcast, working title, I Can't Believe You Haven't Seen This.
Yeah, or Sisters Who Side Quest. That's our other one.
So yeah, we'll figure that part out. But the fact is, and again, we do have an 11-year difference in age.
11 and a half.
11 and a half. And I can't believe you haven't seen it, because I have very strong memories of this literally being on TV all of the time. And if it were on TV, it would be highly edited because it is incredibly gory. Right. I just can't believe you never like sat down and watched it. But I do understand, like, in the 90s and early 2000s, you were thinking of other things.
I was like, my most like cherished nautical themed movie was Free Willy, which we can discuss at another time.
We can have the Free Willy pod for sure.
It ties in for sure because of the name of the boat and the facts that I know about orcas, because they are my favorite animal. But it's just one of those things where, like, I missed it because I feel like I wasn't necessarily into the gore. Like, I have like early memories of watching like slightly like horror movies, like Final Destination, Jeepers Creepers, Halloween, like not the original, because we did watch that together a few years ago, so that wasn't like on my like young impressions in my mind of like what horror is supposed to be. Just like random movies from the 90s, a lot of B-sides, like that one movie, it's like Jack Frost. It's like, who the fuck watched that?
We're officially cursing on this pod now. That's what we're gonna do.
I think you can bleep it.
This is R-rated. This is for adults only.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's good. I love it. And a real quick tangent about orcas, specifically the movie Orca, before we get into Jaws, because I do want to.
The movie Orca.
The movie Orca. Okay, so this is a little story from childhood. So this may have been when you were a baby or before you were born, but we did go to SeaWorld when I was a kid, and I was obsessed.
I went with that. I was like 3, I think, to the one in Ohio, Sandusky.
Okay, so you were alive, but you were not.
I was a Wayne.
You were a Wayne, and I remember being enthralled with it. I loved touching the dolphins, and Mom was like, "Oh, you love Shamu, you love orcas, you love pinnipeds and sea life." She saw this movie, I think at Blockbuster or the library, called Orca, which is she thought it was going to be a nice movie about a killer whale and their adventures. This is pre-Free Willy, by the way. And
I've never heard of this movie.
It's actually a horror movie about a killer whale whose mate and baby is killed by a fisherman, and he goes on a revenge tour and kills everyone. So so can you imagine me at the age of like 11 or 12, probably 12, being like, "Oh, what a nice movie about an orca." And it's literally a horror movie about a revenge-seeking killer whale. That is a very formative memory for me. I just think it's funny, if you want to bring like our mother into this pod a little bit, the innocence of seeing an orca on the cover of a VHS tape and being like, my child will find this delightful. So
Simpler times.
Simpler times, yeah, I was gonna say. So so you can put that on your list. It is an okay movie, but it is definitely more
Wow.
of a horror movie, and not as good as this movie we're talking about today, which is
Right.
Jaws from 1975. It is listed as a thriller film, not a horror, directed by Steven Spielberg, one of our finest American directors. So first impressions, you had never seen this before and you watched it this week and you loved it.
I loved it. So like right from the opening scene where there's like the teens out there just like partying, having fun. It's dawn clearly, or like late into the night. Possibly, I don't think they were partying at 6 p.m. This is also summertime too, so it would have to be like 10 p.m. Yeah, so probably early morning. Everyone had a long night. There's a bonfire on the beach. There's a girl, and she's has a boy following her, and she wants to, be fun and flirty, which I have been accused of doing in my past life, right? I've done this before where it's like, oh, let's go. Like, I love night swimming. Granted, due to my hat, the reference, we are from Michigan where we have fresh water, Great Lakes, all that good stuff. So swimming and aquatic activities were always a part of our childhood for the most part, especially mine. Like, I had a friend who lived at the end of the street, so she's right on the lake. So like we would night swim, we'd bring out like a big ass flashlight and sit out there and like see if we could see fish. We would jump in, like, lake. The worst thing you're gonna get is a nasty sturgeon, and they're not really in the bay anyways, they're in the river.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say ocean swimming. We did not grow up with ocean swimming. I didn't
no.
see the ocean until I was in my 20s. So you saw it a little bit earlier than I did.
In my teens, because of coming to visit in New York, which
You
is
saw
where
the
you are
Atlantic
currently based.
Ocean, correct.
Which was
But
wonderful. I love feeling the riptide. I love feeling that current suck you out a little bit. And I'm a big lady. No one's gonna really pull me like that, but it can, and I know how to save myself. But we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, so the girl, she's running out, and she's like, he's like, "Where are you going?" She's like, "Swimming," which I thought was so funny. It's like
wait,
comically
does she actually say
bad.
I'm swimming?
Yeah,
I
the
missed
way
it.
that she says it, he's like, "Where are you going?" She's like, "Swimming." Like, it's just like, what? It was so funny. It kind of made me laugh a little bit. And she starts stripping off, right, as one does, and gets nude, and then she goes into the beautiful, is it a bay? Is it like, I mean, they're in the ocean, so
So
like,
it's actually shot, and we can get into the behind the scenes a little bit too as you start recalling
and like
your
Martha's
favorite parts.
Vineyard.
It's Martha's Vineyard, yeah. So it's Amity. The fictional town is Amity, and I think it was supposed to be somewhere actually in Long Island. It's
Yeah,
coastal. Yeah, it's
obviously.
definitely an East Coast movie. It has a very East Coast feel. They shot it in Martha's Vineyard. Notoriously, Steven Spielberg was like, I have to be out here for 50 days. And they were like on the water in Martha's Vineyard. And other than like the principal players, I don't know if the girl in the opening scene was a SAG actor. She probably was, because she has a
She
line.
was, I think, because I immediately after watching the movie, like the next day, I'm like, okay, I must watch the 50-year anniversary special on Disney. So apparently, she was one of the only 8 SAG actor award, like SAG actors on the movie. Everyone else was local.
Yeah, no, which I thought was so cool. And you can really tell, and it kind of adds to I love a movie that really gives you a feel for a place. It's such a summertime movie. It's such like a summer rental kind of feel, like, folks who like go to the shore for the summer holidays, which, if we've done, it's usually to Jersey Shore here. not to Martha's
Mhm.
Vineyard, we're not that fancy. But I feel
Never
like,
been.
yeah, I mean, I know I have friends who've gone and they say it is very nice, but it's definitely a different vibe. It's a little waspier to go up
Sure.
there. But yeah, what did you feel about that first scene, like when she gets attacked by
Gets
the
in.
shark?
Yeah.
Did that give you a little spook?
I mean, I knew it was coming, right?
Okay.
But I kind of liked that there was action within the first 5 minutes of the film.
Yeah, we
So it's
call that
like
a hot open. A
a
hot open.
very hot open, and love that because it just got you ready for the rest of it. It didn't feel like it was like there was any stagnation in the film at all, which I enjoyed a lot. That's why I said, "Oh, I loved it. I loved it," because I did. And so yeah, she's getting there whipped around in the water, and the pull down was pretty good. Although we know, like, I mean, me as like a marine biologist nerd at heart, I'm like, I know that shark's not going to really like pull you around like that, but I'm sure it scared the living daylights out of the people in the theater.
Wait, you'd say a shark wouldn't play with you like that? I thought they did. They're like cats, right?
So
They'll like play with you a little bit.
killer whales are more like the cats. The shark likes to bite and then drag. So like she wouldn't be going back and forth. She would be going in one
Oh,
direction. So he's not
okay.
toying with it unless it gets away, but they kind of like don't they're not actively seeking, like they're kind of dinosaur brained in that way because they're such like ancient creatures.
Wow, you're bringing us like the science element to the pod. This is like This is like Mythbusters, okay? I'm like the idea guy and you're like that professor guy who's like, "Well, actually it's
With a
this."
mustache.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
I'm
me.
forgetting his name, but like yeah, exactly. That's the tangent we could take with this. It's like debunking science. We're not
Just I mean,
experts. We do not have doctorates in anything,
right.
but we will give
I could be
you
making it up, but I truly feel deep in my heart that the great white shark, if that was the one who was doing the attack in the opening scene, which I believe was, it wouldn't really be like pull down, just back and forth. It would be like a clamp, pull, because they taste that blood so quickly and they know whether or not they want to eat it. So it's like sometimes you'll hear stories of people who get like nibbled by a shark and they leave. Like a lot of times that will happen because they realize, oh, this isn't food. This tastes like garbage because we're humans and we literally eat garbage in America. So it's just one of those things.
but that nibble that the shark has taken, it's like your whole foot. So it's like,
Correct. Yeah. It's like,
oops,
nom nom.
oops,
Oh,
there
and the
goes your
shark's like,
foot. So he's like,
and
the
like,
shark's
what?
like, ooh, sorry.
Oh, my gosh, I'm so sorry. That wasn't
Uh,
quite what I wanted. Can we send this one back? Actually, it's undercooked.
wow. Anyway, yeah, so awesome. So
So
the scene worked for you. It was effective. Yeah, I was gonna say like how we could do this is really, I guess I'm curious because like the whole reason for this is like, again, can't believe you haven't seen it. General
mhm.
impressions, like not, maybe not specifics. What were your favorite parts, your favorite characters, or like what really stuck with you? And it could be like an image, a character, a scene, anything that really popped for you where you're just like, oh, I'm really enjoying this movie.
I would say so. After that girl dies, right? She is washed up on the beach. You do see her like a little bit of like her corpse. It's all mangled.
Yeah.
There's like little crusty crabs on her and stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
assuming
No, circle of
washed
life,
up.
circle of life.
Right. She had washed up probably a couple days after because that body's pretty well, looking like on the decomposing train there. So like
Sure.
those little like elements of horror and like gore, and it's like seeing like her seeing another jump scare while Richard Dreyfuss is like diving and looking at the bottom of this boat. There's like a lot more to offer than just the shark being the villain, and having a murderous shark. I mean, it's clearly like the spin of the movie is that like it's not like it's a phenomenon. It's not a natural thing. It's a killer instinct. There's something at play here, some evil. Because again, I feel like these sharks, they kind of keep their distance relatively. Like they're not very. There's not as many shark attacks, especially with the great white, like on these beaches. I feel like that's more like your tiger sharks, your bull sharks, but they're not really chomping down kids.
So you're saying
Like Jaws has a purpose.
what I'm getting from all of this is that you did enjoy the movie, but you're
Mhm.
acknowledging that there are some scientific there's some liberties taken with science here. This is the main thing I'm getting from you.
Right, and then
This
for
is
sure,
we're
and then
really focused on the logistics of actual shark behavior is
well,
what's
listen,
happening.
like, so, what had I guess this movie I would have to be grateful for is because the fascination of, sea creatures just like skyrocketed after this film. People wanted to know more about sharks. They wanted to, so all this research and things like that started really like jumping off after this point because people showed so much interest in this movie and people were curious. So like this is all before the age of the internet. So people were like going out there doing the research, building these things, collecting information on shark behaviors and it just, it kind of all technically led me to the point where I'm at now because, I do love them.
Okay. I think I love this. I love this. I want to talk about the film,
Right.
specifically like the filmmaking element. So this was okay. We'll start here. It was a book first, right? Or did you
Hmm.
not know? You did know, but you haven't
Hmm.
read the book,
No.
which is fine because most people haven't. I have, and I will share interesting trivia. First of all, it's very different, and I feel like in the
Hmm.
book they definitely like don't make the shark a villain in the book. It's just a shark, and
Hmm.
it's this thing that happens, and there's like many subplots. It's more about like the town, Chief Brody, his problems
Hmm.
with his wife. There's a whole subplot where Hooper, the Richard Dreyfuss character, is banging Chief Brody's wife. There's a whole infidelity subplot in the book.
Now this is the drama I live for.
See,
No,
okay, you
this
would have
is
liked
the
to keep, like,
tea.
you would have been more invested in the film if there was some drama in
I mean,
Conflama.
that movie would have had to have been 4 hours long if that was the case.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when you're adapting a novel, it's like any movie that was a novel first, it's like Dune, right? Massive. They said it was impossible to adapt, and he had to take, I mean, I feel like he did both David Lynch and Denis Villeneuve did very good jobs with their respective movies, but it is impossible because the lore is so deep. So same thing with Jaws. They were like, it's not like a huge novel. It's like a beach read. And I think it is pretty good if you want to check it out. But yeah, there was a whole romance subplot. And at the end, Brody and Hooper confront each other and they're like, you fucked my wife. Well, like it's more like that. I think as a director, I really appreciate what Spielberg did. I don't know if it was his decision or a joint decision where they were just like, probably a lot of they had many writers on this script as well. They were just like, we cannot have we can't have this subplot in here because it's just going to take up too much time, right?
Right. I mean, I don't even know how you would have been able to fit that in. It was too, like, it just kept rolling. Everything was perfect timing. There was no like lag in the movie. So I
Right.
don't
It
understand how you could
moves.
have, yeah.
Yeah, there's the one scene where Hooper, I believe, goes over to their house for dinner and he's like, well, this is what the shark is. And like he gets a chance to like nerd out and you learn a little bit
Oh, he
more.
does. Correct. Yes.
He does.
Yep.
And I'm like, in that dinner, like you could have had them flirting with each other, but that would have happened. It would have just been a distraction from the shark stuff and really weird. And
Right.
like, what's the point of it to have it pay off on the boat scene where it's like, he realizes that there's just not enough time. That's like something for a two-parter, or that's something for a TV show. That's something that you can really explore in
Right. Oh,
Mad
there's
Men,
never really
a Mad Men
been
type
a
show.
Jaws TV show.
Right, where it's like, yeah, set in the 1970s. It's all about a beach town. It becomes sort of like a Peyton Place kind of soap opera. Like you
Hmm.
get into people's little relationships, because you know how it is. Like, I mean, it's an island. That's the thing about Martha's Vineyard. It's an island, which is like a perfect
Okay.
setting
Yep.
for a soap opera, because you're going to see a lot of, I mean, like, you're sort of forced to be together and it contains your story. And it's like, of course I'm gonna like bang so and so. They're just there all the time. I see them, but
Right.
you have time to develop that. In the movie, yeah, no, I think they did a good job focusing. It is such a thing I love about it most is it is such a bromance movie,
Mhm.
and you have a couple like different ways to be a man
Mhm.
represented in the movie. And I think talking about like the three who end up hunting the shark together, all like different examples of like life paths, and they're all very different and they're working with each other. And no, it doesn't pan out great for everybody in the end. Spoiler.
Right.
If you're listening to this pod, I assume you've watched the movie already and everybody doesn't make it out alive. So
Very, and I'll express to you my favorite character had to have been the captain.
Captain Quint, yes, played
Mhm.
by Robert Shaw, who is British, by the
I
way.
know.
He is a
Maybe that's
British
why.
man. Yeah, he's incredible. Definitely, I would say it's probably a toss up between him and Richard Dreyfuss's Hooper are my favorite, and I know, I think they get into this a little bit in the documentary that famously those two actors did not get along. And I think it actually added to the dynamic on screen. You have somebody
Mhm.
who's like really grizzled, kind of old school Robert Shaw, who was like a stage actor from from England and had like a very particular dynamic, was sort of like famously very prickly to work with, had a lot of issues with alcohol. And then
Mhm.
Richard Dreyfuss, who at the time was a very like up and coming, like upstart New York theater actor, both very like passionate about their craft. And then you get them on a small boat in the middle of the ocean and you're just gonna let those sparks fly. I thought it was great. Any other, let's, I don't know, let's kind of pivot into from characters to aesthetics, since that might be something we talk about too in movies, because
Mhm.
we both have a passion for fashion.
Mhm.
So let's, yeah, what did you feel about the overall look and the feel and the clothing and the
I
lighting?
thought it was believable. I thought, obviously it was very 70s, and it's like true 70s, right? So it's like,
Because it
um,
was 70s.
well, you know how you always talk about like how, parts of the 80s felt like the 70s still, and parts of the 90s felt like the 80s, which is kind of why I still remember the brown carpet era. It's just it felt because the year of the five, which is what we're in now, is kind of like the truest to the form of the decade. It's like the decade definer. I feel like the four, fives, and sixes of the decades. I thought it was wonderful. It was funny seeing like beach huts on
Mm,
the beach for like people to change into their bathing suits, I believe. Like, I think that's what that was.
yeah.
Everybody's kind of like laying out the kids, especially like back to the first scene, the beach scene. Like, the girl is like in like a crocheted sweater or something, like some jeans, like bell bottom ish looking jeans that she takes off. All of that very true to the era.
You
And
see
as
like,
far as like fashion, though, like the men's fashion, you
mm,
can see how like, Brody's mostly in his uniform or like very adjacent. So he's very like kind of like blue collarish looking. He was wearing like, I think on the beach he was wearing like a white t-shirt and just like whatever sort of basic bathing suit, whereas the younger research guy, he's like more, he looks like he's been to college, like he's got
mm-hmm.
certain style of like glasses, and his hair's kind of messy. He's wearing like, I don't know, he looks like a hipster. It's like,
Well,
you
yeah, sure.
know
There's, I think they point that out in the movie too. There's that great scene where Brody and Hooper visit Quint in at his like fishing shack, and
Mhm.
they're asking him for help with the shark. And Quint grabs Hooper's hands and is like, "Look at your hands, Hooper. You got city hands. They're only good for counting
That's right.
money." And I was like, "Ooh, now that's a lot." I quote that at least once a month, I feel.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, the knits, I have to say, yeah, what I'm hearing is like, yeah, there's that little bit of the again, we're in the mid 70s, right? Solidly in the mid 70s, but there is still that little bit of like flower power, especially in the younger kids. You see it, like I said, the knits, the bell bottoms. I love this is a movie for sweaters, Cooper
Mm-hmm.
sweaters. So again, a little bit more like rich kid, right? He's got some
Mm-hmm.
nice, it's like you
Like
go,
St. John's Bay or something like.
yeah, he's got a little bit of LL Bean going
Mhm.
on, a little bit of Sperry, if we want to call out designers. On the beach, we see some Lily Pulitzer, right? It's
Mhm.
it's like a little bit of that like sort of graphic flower power late 60s into early 70s influence, I'll say.
I think one of the townspeople, the women who was like, "So the beach, are you closing the beach?" Like she's like one of the, she's like a constant on like the beach scene as well as like the city hall, like town hall meeting kind of scene. She's kind of got like a beehive, so it's like she's still leaning into like that those 60 styles, even though it's clearly 1974 or five when this
Mm-hmm.
film is theoretically taking place. So it's like it seemed very like true to the time because it was the time like you said, but like everybody's like leaning into things. She wasn't styled to be like a flower powery kind of girl. She's like an older woman, so she's not gonna look like the younger kids. The generations were very separated, unlike how they are today, where our 50-year-olds they try to keep up with the 20-year-olds. And it's like, and it's not saying that you can't or can, but it was just like the generations really stuck to themselves. They didn't integrate as much. It's like nobody was on TikTok back in the day.
Well, yeah, I think today we have more of a monoculture too, like everything is
Yeah,
just blended because of the internet, right? And we
right.
can talk about that too. I think on this pod, we're going to talk a lot about sort of pre-internet movies, just
Hmm.
because I feel like there are so many good movies that maybe you haven't seen or we just haven't discussed that are although I don't know, there's plenty of movies from the 90s, even the late
Hmm.
90s, that are still great. One of the things that I love about this movie is how practical it is. The fact that the shark was just a big robot.
Hmm. I
And
know. Yeah, I
if
knew
you
about all about the robot as a kid. I was like, oh, his name was Bruce.
His
You
name
know.
is Bruce, and if you've ever been to Universal in Hollywood, California, which I have, you can actually see a replica of him pop out of the
Mhm.
water when you take the little
Mhm.
riverboat ride there, and he like creaks out of the water. There's
Mhm.
actually a phobia. You may know this just from being on the
Like
internet.
tassilophobia.
Wait, what is it called?
Is it that tassilophobia? Tassilophobia?
It might be thalassophobia, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Is that the one you're referencing?
The one that is the fear of animatronics in the water.
Oh no, that's different. That's a totally different one. That one I'm referring to is the fear of like large objects in the water or like below the surface, like fear of the ocean.
Mm.
So like I kind of felt, though I don't really have those fears naturally, because again I am a fan of marine biology, but it's like in the film watching the shark swim under the boat and you see how big it is, you kind of get like, ooh, it's like a little spooky because you see how big it is, and that does really spark fear in a lot of people. So, but I want to rewind really quick and make one more note about the captain's fashion,
Sure.
because he obviously was a World War II vet, and you can
Yes.
see that a lot of his clothing is a lot older. It looks more, weathered, and it's like he kind of keeps like and they all their wardrobe seems like they keep like a lot of the same outfits, like the continuity. It's like it's very similar outfits all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and his just looks very like weathered, worn of the 40s and maybe the 50s, right? So he kind of looks like he's stuck in that frame as well.
Right. Yeah, no, I like that. Like it's very lived in. You're not seeing them go through a ton of costume changes. They're kind of wearing the same things, which
Mm-hmm.
would totally make sense.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's great. The fear I was thinking of, I just looked this up.
Okay.
Sorry. It's called
Okay.
submechanophobia, which is
Oh.
the fear of underwater animatronics and is a specific manifestation of a broader phobia which is fear of submerged man-made objects. These objects can range from sunken ships and statues to theme park attractions
Oh
with
yeah.
animatronics. And I know, because I'm a little YouTube nerd, there are whole videos devoted to this. Like, they're like, you have submechanophobia, watch this video. And it's always some sort of cursed footage of Pirates of the Caribbean ride from 1970s. Like, people can't bear to watch it because they're just so afraid of being dragged down by a robot to their death. And so I feel like this movie Jaws would be like real exposure therapy for somebody like that. Like, you just would have to face your fear and watch it like Clockwork Orange style and be like, watch that robot, look at that robot shark.
Right. And I'm not sure if you know this fact, but in Disney's Finding Nemo, the great white shark is named Bruce.
Oh, I do know that. And that's a tip of the hat. It's a little homage. I love that. Yeah, sharks are cool.
They are cool. As I say, like, favorite scenes though, besides like the spooky jump scares, obviously the ending, you can't do better than shoving that tank in the mouth and having shark bits go everywhere. The fact that he was going down and shooting like with the gun, like as the ship started to sink, I thought that was really cool. Great. I don't know how. I'm sure they had to repeat that a couple times, but it's just like to get it to tip, and he's hitting that angle right on the thing with the gun, and then that's it.
Which
tension.
Both of us, great use of tension, raising the stakes at the end, which is important. You're always like, as somebody who writes, they talk about that a lot. Like, yeah, you always have to be raising the stakes. It's like, why are people bored with your narrative? Like, you should be raising the stakes like constantly. So at the end, it's like, yeah, he's down there in the water. He's like, come down to the shark's home. And we have both shotguns. We have grown up in the Midwest. You are the original Midwest princess.
Well, yeah, I think he had a rifle. He didn't have a shotgun. There was no double barrel. It was a single barrel. It was like narrow. I don't know what gun it was. I'm not.
See, you're already demonstrating your gun knowledge on the pod.
But it's just like, I mean, it's basic knowledge though. It's like, he had like a rifle. It wasn't like a double barrel shotgun or something, like...
Right. But we know how difficult it is to aim and shoot, period. So correct. The fact that he's shooting a moving target in the water while he is sinking is crazy. But yeah, great climax. Yeah, as far as like jump scares go, I don't feel like that scene is jump scary. I mean, the famous one is where Brody's chumming when they're looking, and then the shark pops. And it's almost like, it's weird. It's a jump scare, but it's almost casual. It looks like something that's actually happening. It's like, because you know how like shark surface, it's like, oh, there's his head. And then there's that like great shot where he like pulls back and you see his reaction, and he's like, we're gonna need a bigger boat. Like the famous quote. That's definitely a jump scare when they're looking at the ship, when I think it's Hooper is looking at the footage, not the footage, the wreckage underwater, and that head pops out. That always gets me. I know it's coming. I've seen this movie 150 times, and that floating head gets me. I'm like, ah.
Yeah,
every time.
I was in my seat, like, ooh, like, for the creepiness factor of it,
You don't want to see a floating corpse in a boat.
No.
That's a bad day. It's a real bad day when you got to see that. I'm trying to think any other jump scare. Of course, like little kid gets killed on the raft and the mom gets mad. That's like,
so he tells his son to go play in the pond, and like by the pond he means like the estuary, where like is it like where like salt water meets fresh water kind of thing, or like what does he mean, the pond?
I think it's the entrance. What I know of like beach speak, that's like where, so there's the famous Jaws Bridge in Martha's Vineyard, and that's actually still there, and I think it's labeled as the Jaws Bridge. But it's like where the bay empties out into the ocean. I think that's what it is. So they're talking about the pond. They're like, oh, you're not like in the active surf, like on the break. You're like in this quiet place where
Right.
you see like the
I don't know if
boats
it's like
coming
a
through.
canal or something, you know.
Yeah, it's more of a canal. I think that's what they're referring to as the pond. So,
Okay.
but yeah, he's like, yeah, go over there and it'll be safe. But that's not how sharks work. That shark gonna come get your kid.
He did.
He just gonna
He
come
done
nibble
jumped
on
in
your
there.
toe. He's gonna slide right in there. And then of course, like that's where it gets real because he's like, oh, my kid's in danger. And yeah, all those kids were locals too. They were not SAG actors. They're
Mhm.
just like some kid. They're like, hey, you want to be in a Hollywood movie? Here you
Mhm.
go. Here's your dad. Now
And yeah,
you're
they still all like remember it. They're like, "Oh, my life changed at this time, and like I've always been, you know, my life has been built around this movie." And it's like you're only in it for like 10 minutes. So, but it was
yeah.
just a phenomenon, you know. It's like it was
Maybe that
with
would
I'm
be
saying the mania of like Jaws. It was so like it seemed like there was lines forever to get in to see it. People would wait, and it changed the generation.
and I think too, like, even though people do get excited about movies and are going to movie theaters now, and there's this sort of resurgence and like, oh, people want to like go to the movies, right? Even though we live in a time when you can stream
Hmm.
anything at any time,
Right.
it's the same thing with like people trying to re-embrace analog technology, people trying to get their reading skills back, people trying to like string out their attention because our attentions
Correct.
have been destroyed in the past 5 to 10 years. Let's just say 10 years. Let's just all admit that like nothing super good has happened after 2015, and we can talk about that uh, as well. But you know, we might get a little political. I don't know. Maybe this is that kind of pod. Why not? Who
You never
cares?
know.
I think
I
our
mean, who
fans
was
will
president?
appreciate it. What's that?
Was it Nixon? Was Nixon the president in 1975?
Oh, it's a good question. Hold on a second. Siri, who was president? Hey Siri,
Hey,
who
assistant.
who was president in 1975? Gerald Ford,
Oh, Ford. Okay.
actually. Okay. So who was a Republican? So there was also that factor. Yeah, we can get into it.
Mhm.
We can have a like a real spicy political podcast.
Oh my gosh.
If you know, if the white cis men are doing it, we can do it too. We can
Maybe there
we
should be, you know, how there's always the uh desire to have like a third party run. You know, maybe it's the Shark Party.
maybe it's a shark party. Yeah, maybe the time for white men is done and now it's the time the
There's only
sharks.
white sharks.
I mean, they start the killer whales started their uprising, sinking yachts, and I feel like if the ocean doesn't start continue to sacrifice billionaires to the ocean every year,
Mhm.
you know, we're going to be in a real pickle. So I think this is our time, and we
Mhm.
really the sea creatures have to reclaim the
As they
territory.
should, you know, and that's another reason
Absolutely.
why orcas are my favorite animal. Oh, and then hold on. Hold on, hold on, hold on.
Okay. All right. Now we're
Back
getting
to my
into it.
back to my science tangent.
Okay.
I I was like ecstatic to see that the name of the boat was the orca, right?
Sure.
And so you know that the only real predator to great white sharks are orcas because
Oh.
they like to eat their liver and leave the corpse to rot. So it's like
Well, that is not
they
very that's not very green of them, I have to say.
well
Very
they
wasteful.
I mean nobody wants to eat that dirty shark meat. It should be stank,
Is it
you know?
it's dirty? Oh, I guess they are sort of scavengers like we are.
They are, yeah. So it's like the sharks, they don't really have. There are certain, I'm sure there are certain shark recipes that people eat or whatever. I'm not interested in eating that.
Absolutely not.
But
Absolutely not. I
they're,
think it's bad karma personally.
as somebody who does love to eat meat, I just don't think I would ever want to eat a shark, nor would I ever eat like a whale or something like that. That's upsetting. I know it's something that's been in like cultures of the north, like the, you know, people like native people of Alaska and all these other areas they'll eat like whale and blubber and stuff like that. But
Right. But
I
that's
will not be
their
trying it.
yeah, no, that's and again, like, it's a culture that we're not a part of, and you have to respect
Correct,
people's
and that's
culture.
fine. I am, but I cannot eat it.
Yeah, no,
I
I'm not
cannot
going to
eat
eat a seal, or I mean, honestly, and you know me, I've been a vegetarian and I've been a vegan at parts of my life, and I still think about it all the time, even though I am omnivorous now. I still
it.
have
Yeah,
that thought in the back of my head. I'm like, could you just do without it? And
maybe like a couple times a week or something. But like I do love me some tendies.
sure, I love tendies, although they make really good vegan tendies now. Like the vegan tendy market is booming.
I'm
And
sure it is.
pretty soon we're all gonna have to eat bugs. The way this environment is turning, we're gonna have to go back to eating crickets and grasshoppers and cockroaches.
Did
Because
they eat on this boat, like when they were all out on the Orca? Did they eat like I didn't see them eat a lot of food. I know they were drinking and like comparing scars at one point in the cabin.
they did have alcohol for
It's
sure.
definitely not a food movie, you know.
No, they don't. Yeah, they don't really focus on the food too much. I assume on the boat they're going to have rationy type things, although they weren't
Mhm.
on for that long. But I
Yeah,
assume it's sort of like, what are sailors' rations? Were they eating hardtack? Did they have some stew? Mm, I do
some
love a
beans, maybe a
stew.
can of beans.
Maybe, yeah. They don't really. I know Hooper has a cup of coffee, so they definitely made coffee. They had some alcohol. They have some food when Hooper goes over to dinner.
What did they make,
I'm
I
trying to
wonder.
remember. And I'm just like, now that I'm thinking about it, all I can imagine, because it's the same actor, Richard Dreyfuss, I just picture him at a dining room table in another Steven Spielberg movie, which is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Which, have you seen that? You haven't seen?
No.
Oh my God. I can't believe you haven't seen that. And cut to commercial break. No.
Right, exactly. A
um,
word from my sponsor.
and now a word from our sponsor. So he's in another Steven Spielberg movie where he famously
Mhm.
has a dinner scene where he's making a mountain out of mashed potatoes. And I'm like, did he eat mashed potatoes in this movie too?
I wonder what they ate. I want to Google it. Oh, I'm tempted.
what did what did they
Tempt, tempt me.
we're focusing, we could have talked about like the cinematography, the directing, but I see what we're focusing on.
That's
It's like
boring.
clothes, food, science, political implications, bromance, romantic subplots. This is what we're
Hmm.
into. So
They
you're gonna
eat
have to get deep
for.
into the Jaws Wikipedia. What did they eat for dinner when
Let's
Hooper
see.
came to Brody's house in Jaws 1975?
Oh, so in Jaws it says the final dinner on board the Orca consists of an affectionate term that was used in the military, and I know this because I work with a couple of vets at the good old hospital, right? And so, um, it affectionately being called SOS or shit on a shingle, chickpeas on
Yes,
toast.
chip heave on toast. Yep, they had that all
Um,
the time.
let's see, food and fix Jaws. You know what? Let's give it up for Elliot's Eats. This was posted on 2021. Uh,
This is a blog that is just about food and movies, I'm assuming.
Correct. Food, travel, and adventure. And it says food and flicks, Jaws. Here are the food and beverages I spotted during my viewing when I wasn't having a panic attack. It's that, well, I know the beer that the captain drinks is it it's Narragansett?
He has some Narragansett. Yeah,
Yeah. So he says Falstaff
absolutely.
beer from the opening bonfire, Tab and Sprite on the beach. Quince
Wow.
snacking on crackers at the council meeting. There's obviously bourbon, holiday roast as bait, family dinner, indistinguishable food. Okay, so he couldn't
And
tell you there.
he couldn't tell you.
Red wine and whites, pretzels, hot dog stand on the beach, Coca Cola, coffee, ice cream. I don't know where he got that from. 2 cases of brandy for Quint, moonshine, Heinz ketchup, Campbell's soup, and other canned goods, Narragansett, obviously. So that's pretty much it. But I'm gonna go with meatloaf. We'll probably have meatloaf.
Sure. Yeah. If it's not, I was going to say, what's a typical shore dinner in the summer?
Well,
You
they're
know,
like,
it's going to be kind of
yeah,
hot. You're not going to want to cook like a whole thing, turn the oven on. It's probably pretty
maybe she's
humid.
grilling.
Maybe she's grilling, maybe with some burgers. Now I'm getting hungry thinking about a seaside lunch.
I know.
So, well, thank you to Elliot's Eats for that insight.
Thank you, Elliot.
We will tag you and link you
We will
unless
revisit that.
we will revisit that for sure. Yeah,
Well, yeah,
maybe
thank you for your information.
maybe we'll talk about food and movies as well. We're gonna really start to hone in on what our niche is through these
Maybe, well,
conversations. So
maybe we have to have almost like, you know how people do those like meeting minutes in corporate? Like, I'm not really a corporate girly like that, but they have like an agenda, right? So maybe we'll have an agenda where we kind of like go over certain aspects at certain times. So like first part being overview, general impressions, second part being actors, third fashion, fourth food. I have to come in with my scientific facts at least,
I was gonna say you're really leaning hard towards the actual scientific facts of the movie. So the MythBusters thing
So
is
I think that's
interesting.
also why I haven't watched a lot of horror movies in my life, just because I try to analyze and see like, what is this predictable? Is this plausible? Is this real? Like, how could this happen? Why? Who made this choice and why? Like, I like to analyze everything and
Mm-hmm.
kind of find the reasoning for it. So like sometimes movies just have to be silly. Like obviously, I don't think a great white is going to be like constantly coming after you, having gotten shot in the dorsal fin with these like floaty buoy things. It's not like really interested in coming back. I'm sure they would beeline,
Right,
but
but they're not gonna let. Here's the thing: if it you can't let the science get in the way of the story, right?
I didn't. I didn't. I enjoyed it fully. I think looking at it now, hindsight, what like after watching it, I could sit there and kind of go, oh, okay, like all these things. I mean, if you think about people not using their minds, even like my dad, he kind of gave a story of like back when the movie came out. He's like, people were at Metro Beach, which is a beach outside of Detroit. It's pretty long. There's a lot of like people like store
There's
their boats over there.
boat
Marinas. There's
people.
people, yeah, a lot of marinas over there. There's like a public access beach as well. But after Jaws had came out, people were hesitant. They did not want to swim. They did not swim in that water, and it's like it's fresh water. There's no shark,
People didn't want to get in the bathtub. People didn't want
which
to
is
get in the
crazy.
bathtub, but like
I
that's
never
how bad
understood that
it's.
though.
I mean, I mean, we can get into it too because we're right in front of spooky season. So maybe as this pod launches launches us both into fame and fortune, we can really get into horror movies, which
Mhm.
are a special interest of mine. And I'm sure you
I
haven't seen a
know.
lot of horror. As you said in the beginning of the pod, I made you watch the original John Carpenter's Halloween, which you had never seen. So perhaps we could rewatch that. Yeah, I think that might be interesting. We can talk about what scares you and
Right.
what is a scary movie to you. And I mean, Jaws they say it's a thriller on Wikipedia, but I would consider this a
It
horror
is a
movie.
thriller.
it's
Yeah,
a
I would
it's
too because it's a
it's
murder
definitely
shark.
it's scared a lot of people. Yeah, and it really tapped into that submechanophobia, but just regular shark phobia, whatever that word is for that, whatever. Fear of sharks. Hey Siri. Siri's gonna be a regular star on
I
our
wish we could
pod.
rename our series.
Hey Siri, what is the word for the fear of sharks? Galeophobia. Galeo phobia. Galeophobia, which is based on the Greek word galeos, which means shark. Well, I've learned
Oh,
something new today. yeah, so we're coming up on an hour here. Any final thoughts on Jaws 1975? This movie that
It,
changed how we see
the
movies.
it's possibly one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Wow.
Um,
Wow. We should have a rating system. We have for this
okay,
pod.
it's
Yeah,
a
so
5 star. It's a
the
five
five
star movie.
stars. Yeah, we'll figure out like our true rating
Rating
system.
style, or if you want to give it out of 10,
Thumbs
I
up,
can give
thumbs
it
down.
a thumbs up's pretty easy. Thumbs up, 5 stars. I'd say 9.5 out of 10.
A yum or a yuck,
Oh, it's a
whatever.
yum.
It's a yum.
It'll be a it'll be a summer special from now on. I understand that there are more movies, all of which have been directed by different people, and I have no interest in watching.
Well, we could get into those too. They are notoriously bad.
Mhm.
Although Jaws 3 is in 3D. That was the whole thing. It is a 3D film
So the
that
shark coming at you.
is shot come right at you. And it's set, spoiler alert, it's set in sort of a SeaWorld type of place. And they have a lot of commentary about that. And is that a good thing or is that not a good thing? So I don't know. Might be worth it. It is not well done though, I will say. Just my opinion. But a different thing if you want like sort of a campy horror film, and I have a lot of love for that genre too, we can get into it.
Mhm.
So but that's great. So I recommended you a movie, you watched it, it's a 9.5 out of 10. We have a new
Mhm.
summer classic. I think that is a win for me. Yeah, we'll have to, and I have a whole list of other movies we could get into talking about general impressions. This could also become a pod about movies that formed us, movies that made us, movies that are a
Mhm.
part of our psyche and
Mhm.
that changed our lives. Because I think in this day and age, yeah, this is my closing statement, in this day and age of very quickly produced content and AI
Mhm.
slop, we really need to start remembering what is good. What is good about movies, and not that nothing is good nowadays, but I
There's
think it's
less good.
there's, we can say things are less good now. I think I think it just is reminding me how much I love things that are practically built and created by hand and sort
Like
of
practical effects and puppets and stuff like
right,
that.
and written by writers and not Chat GPT. It comes from your own brain, even if that's a flawed thing. That's fine because flaws make us human, and it's cool to it's cool to see something that is also, although I know as you watch the documentary there's definitely a lot of studio opinions that went into this movie, just
Mhm.
like any other big budget movie. I mean, the only chance that you have of not having that is if you shoot an indie, which is like a whole other conversation. But
Right.
yeah, I think it's cool to see something that was just the imagination of a writer that got translated to the imagination of screenwriters, that is just like it still holds up. It still holds up to this day. And if that's
It
a
does.
robot shark and you know it's a robot shark and you're still scared of it, and I
Well,
love that.
the teens who watched it back then probably didn't really realize it was a total robot.
Probably not. Yeah, no, we'll have to we'll have to ask our mom, who did see it in the theater back in 1975, if she thought it was real. We'll have to
She saw it with her sister, and
her
apparently
sister, our aunt, by the way.
our aunt, yes, exactly. She took her. They went together, watched the movie. Apparently, mom remembers eating pickles in the theater
Oh,
and while watching Jaws. And do you know what her least favorite food item is now?
is it pickles?
It is pickles.
That's crazy. Wait, how did I not know that? That she doesn't like
She
pickles?
does not like pickles. Like whenever we would get, like, say for instance, like ordering a hamburger, like if it comes with pickles, she'd take them off and I would eat them.
That is crazy. And
She
considering
loves olives.
yeah, but like a pickle is a pickle, and anything pickled is just.
She likes pickled vegetables. Like she just doesn't like pickles.
Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she has a cucumber problem.
No, she likes cucumbers.
Just not pickled cucumbers.
No.
Well,
probably because she ate them while she was watching Jaws, and it terrified her.
Well, yeah, no, it's like when you get food poisoning from, like, I don't know, barbecue chicken, and then you throw it up and then you can't ever have it again.
Can't eat it. That's me with black olives. Like I've eaten black olives. I'm okay, but like I just don't love them because I had an experience with black olives. And also, I eat Cheerios. I really don't eat them ever, but like I can eat them. But when I was a kid, I had a bug fly into my Cheerios and I couldn't eat it for like the longest time. I was like, no.
The trauma.
Yeah.
The childhood trauma. Well, this pod is going to continue, and when we can talk about childhood trauma and we can talk about movies, we're going to keep evolving it. I think, yeah, that focus on just, I'm really excited to see what you like, and also to talk about what I like and see if it intersects anywhere. But I think we're both going to give this movie, we give it thumbs up, 10 out of 10. We like Jaws. We love sharks. We love
the ocean.
We love killer whales. We love killer whales eating billionaires.
Sharks. Yep. And especially billionaires sinking yachts.
We're pro sinking yachts. Yeah.
Pro sinking yachts. Pro 1975.
Pro knits. We love knits. We love knitted sweaters. We love meatloaf, even though we're not sure if it's in the movie or not, but we do love meatloaf. And pickles.
Really do. Love pickles.
Love pickles. Okay, we can close it there. So anyway,
well, thanks for listening. If you've made it this long.
There you go. You got a good close there. Thank you for listening to all of our fans. Hello to any potential sponsors. We would love a sponsor for this pod. We will happily shill anything because we love, even though capitalism has its issues, we do live in a society and we would like to make money.
I just need a microphone that works. I mean, I like my little guy here, but I would like a nice podcast microphone.
Yeah, so tune in next time so you can see Melanie's upgraded microphone for the next episode. And who knows what we'll talk about, but we will talk about something. So
that's right.
Anyway, see you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of VHS Sisters. We hope you've had a fun and cozy time. Please consider liking, leaving a review, and following us on your podcast platform of choice. If you'd like to chat with us, please email us at VHSsisterspodcast@gmail.com. Love you. Bye.